So welcome to another installment of Exploring Consciousness with the Earth Nouveau Group. And we are really blessed today to have an amazing guest, Mr. Stephen Mc Garry, who is a practitioner of shamanism. I want to call him the staff shaman because I got one. So welcome to our show, Stephen, and it's really, really exciting to have you. And I'm sure we've got thousands of questions for you. I think we're just going to kick it off by asking you the question, what has been your journey into making those amazing staffs? Tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, I remember years ago, about 18, we walked the fields around our way at a place called Ballinderry, which is an English term for the town land of the oaks. And what the farmers had to do, they would have ploughed the fields, the old fields were the peat bogs, for they turned into pasture, and the plough would have stuck and they would have come across bog oak. So they'd have had to take it out of the field, put it in a big pile, and there's me and a friend, we would have come across this. And I was totally inspired by the faces, the character, the animals, everything that you see in the route. Maybe here's an example I can show you, if you can see.
Oh,
that's
wow.
A small piece of route. Now, no matter what way you turn this in the light, the beings, and I've done very little to this, only polished. You know, I wouldn't class myself as a sculptor by no means, but it is absolutely awesome. The character, it just done something to my imagination. But of course, life took over then, and they went down the path of ordinary work. You know, you couldn't have seen a living out of it. You know, always had bits and pieces of it about me.
It is so dark.
So black.
So black, isn't it?
So black. Now, that's the root. The root would have a different darkness, a real blackness compared to the, you know, the stem or the spine of the staff.
But even the spine, is quite, the staff is quite dark too, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the tannings and the nurturing that it has got from being in the womb of Mother Earth for, you know, this material that you have, Martina, and that I'm holding in my hand. This is 3,100 years of age. Now,
let's go back.
Yeah. So I just find it's, and for to retain its integrity, to be as strong as what it was when it was grown, it's just awesome. I just, it blows me away. You know, they're talking at the minute about the new sarcophagus, whatever they've opened up in Egypt. And they 2,800 to 3,000 years of age. You know what I mean? Now this is older.
Yeah.
And it's wood. You know, you'd be thinking something like stone or, but no, this here has been, it has been nurtured for so long, and I've found a purpose for it. It has granted me the spirit of it, has given me a purpose. Now, I've battled to find a purpose because I've had this seasoned and planked for nearly 3 years, until one day about 3 months ago, guided by spirit totally, I decided to make a few staffs and a few walking sticks and bring them down to the Shamanic fair for the weekend course. And the reception I got was amazing. And the practitioner there, I have to say a big hello to them there, Paul and Melanie O'Halloran. Paul was just blown away, and that's just his talking stick. He has a small one, and it's a talking stick. And yeah, very, very good reports about it. So it has been, I was going to make furniture with it. I was going to do this, I was going to do that. But no, until I stopped smoking the weed. I smoked weed for quite a few years and come to Earth. this is when it manifested. And it's not about the money, do you know what I mean? Whereas before, you know what I mean, you were feeding habit or your money was going the first way. Now it's not. And it's like, it was like a token. You'd nearly think it was a token or a gift to be
It's
given.
also, it sounds like the principle of reciprocity, isn't it? It's like
Mhm.
you bringing it back to life, and at the same time, I understood that it brought you back to life into the experience too, didn't it?
It definitely earthed me, you know, and that's where again, where with marijuana or any sort of a habit, one isn't earthed. There's so much stuff doesn't get manifested, but this has. It really has earthed things so much, and I'm inspired by the comments by people that have, and people pick them. Do you know what I mean? It's not that I go out, people pick, they get the feel. You know what I mean? Even the stick that I gifted yourself, Martina, it was all, I was going to give you another stick, you know, I had a choice of 3 stars, but I went to pendulum and I had to do it 3 times because I want to give you a different one. No, it was quite adamant that you had to get that particular stick.
You know, I have to say that because when I first used it in the park, I had a friend of mine with me and I was walking with it and I said to her, I said, so why don't you take it a little bit, you know, and she took it and she said, I don't have permission. I said, what are you talking about? You have my permission. She says, no, I don't have permission. It doesn't let me walk it. And I said, well, then get permission, you know. So she did, and then it was okay. But as you say, there was this almost imprinting that you made it for me, and you just confirmed that. So thanks for confirming that.
Exactly, because even the journey for me to gift you that, it was one of my biggest earthing experiences because, you know, listening to your show with Andrew and, you know, your connection, your name kept coming into my head and it was like for 2 to 3 weeks. And I said to myself, I have to do this. I have to, because I'd gifted one to Sean Bond you know, there are many places around the world. And to manifest it and to connect to yourself was another big changing point. But it was that earthing thing as well to do, you know, to connect, to give it, to do it. It took it off the head. But the medicine within that, do you know what I mean? For me personally, it was again that earthing, you know, there's no bounds. No bounds.
Fantastic.
So thank you.
No, thank you. And so I actually understand now that you haven't, that's been something you've just started a couple of months ago, really.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And you were saying something earlier that your entire life has changed since you've started doing it, right?
Yeah, yeah. Life a lot more happier in life. Well, my journey changed, you know, last 4 years from I shifted from, I got divorced. And it was a real point where, and within that had happened for many a year, honesty. I had to be honest with myself in the situation I was in. And I had to make a change. And from I made that change, I think the formula within that was honesty, being honest with myself and acting on it. It changed so much. Journey to Tara Hill was the big changing point. Summer solstice. And the people I met, I could be me. Do you know what I mean? What I like to be, like to chat with people, communicate, you know, sit around a fire, you know, just simple things. Be together like minded people.
I have to share what you said before we came on, guys. You know, Stephen said when he talks to us through the Zoom or when he gets onto talking to somebody, he looks at it as this is him talking to the fire. And this is such a lovely way. I've never thought of this before. And I actually want us to take a moment here and just think, consider yourself sitting around the fire with Stephen telling us his story. That gives you goosebumps. It's so cool.
Yeah.
This different way of looking at it. So that's really cool.
It is, you know, it is those qualities that took so many years. That's 50 years of hardship and breaking that code. No, learned a lot through them years. You know, been very discovering the mind and discovering what was going on in this planet. Went through many different cycles, different circles. But when I started that journey 4 years ago, I stepped in honesty and I stepped on a path of truth and finding truth. That is where I met. I was gifted by giving the link to Andrew Barches. That was just phenomenal. Phenomenal. What I was searching for all my life was somebody that could tell you the truth and access to where truth was. You know, it was awesome.
So did you become a shamanic practitioner 4 years ago too?
No, this is my first year.
Okay. So you're doing the shamanic practitioner course now? You're working with?
Yeah. Beautiful.
Okay.
Absolutely beautiful. Been in circle, being around people. Again, that circle where you're open, discussion, getting it out there, getting it off your chest. Do you know what I mean? Feeling free about it.
So how do you use the shamanic principles with you making the staffs?
I would open up space. The 7 directions. I'd also quite often when I'm making them too, I would have the 528 vibration going. You know, that or 432, the harmonics.
No, tell us about that.
Well, they would be like the solfeggio frequency. Well, 528 would be the heart chakra. 432.
Right. 432. Yeah. The frequency. Yeah.
Frequencies.
Yeah,
and just being in it and loving doing it. You know, I'm still learning so much with it. But
well, I suppose every single staff you do has a different story, right?
Absolutely unique. There's never two the same. But there's one thing they all do get is equal love.
Yes.
They do. They get that hands-on, the passion, everything that are the ingredients in life that we yearn for and to practice as through wood, through human contact, whatever the case may be, you know.
So would you say, like, using maybe one of Andrew's, because we're all familiar with his work, would you say it's like you're creating a hub of interconnectivity as you're bringing all the celestial minds and mediums in, as you start almost like imprinting them?
I think so. I think it's like a channel. It's a channel, and anywhere they go, understanding the energy that's in them through different people, like Sean Bond's opinion, they're loaded with Fae force. And there's one thing about here in Catholic Ireland, you know, the Fae were taken out of authority and held under by apex predators, and now they are going to regain that authority. Their force is amplified by 1,000,000-fold with these sticks.
Yeah.
That has been, they are the force. These sticks are the force that are going to aid in that. I find anybody or where they go, they're in Canada, Portugal, America, England. I just see the grandmother spider web, and that connecting, you know, it's just not coming from one place. And anybody that they're going to, they're connecting with them, and they have that connection. They can feel it, to see it. People just get so much comfort from this particular wood. I
sleep with it now, guys.
Yeah, loads of people do.
Next in my bed now. The cat's sleeping on it. My, unentangled observer technology. I'm holding on to it before I go to bed. Just connect to my dream space.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
You're not supposed to say that. That's why I named them. That's the unique name. Is not the walking stick or staff. The unique name that I come across or was gifted is ancestral companion sticks.
Yeah, I actually prefer that.
Yeah,
I like that because walking stick is, that's
no. You can't even use that. Yeah.
They need a unique term, and that's the unique term that I have given because that's what they are. They're real companions. They're a companion, they're a friend. you just like holding it. You know what I mean? Or just with the knowledge of knowing how old they are. Yeah.
For me, it's a time traveling tool. It's my time traveling companion.
And your artwork as well, Martina. It's that inspires me. Anytime I seen it, anybody that connects or give comments, I will. I'm a big 6 foot man, you know what I mean? But I will from the heart with joy. Just wow, you know, it's just it's
Fantastic.
nature, nature.
Tell us the feedback. You were saying, what is Sean's? You were blown away by his feedback. What type of feedback? What did he experience by using it?
Well, he just said that the force, the fair force are in them, and Sean would have been brief with it, but we will be working, higher selves working together in unison to dismantle the apex predators that have held back the fair force from their authority in the land.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's as far as I could really go with Sean on that
yeah,
one. It's
sure,
it's loaded with stuff, even that, but by a
of
million,
course.
the force is amplified by a million, which to me might be cryptic, but it means a lot. That
Well, also, I mean, Sean's obviously, is he in Australia? Where is he?
I think Sean's in America.
America. So
Yeah,
they travel, you know,
exactly.
they
Yep.
travel. So, and this is something very unique to you because, I would assume that not everyone is so open to send them worldwide. I was quite surprised when you said, do you want one? I'm like, wow, yeah, because it must be quite a hassle, and the way you wrap them up and they arrive, it's just like it's very professionally done.
Thank you. Thank you. Even gifted, I was even gifted where the parcel wrapping come, because at one stage I come across boxes and I was going to wrap them up. That was Sean's one. And then this day I was driving down to the shop and I looked in this skip at a carpet place and I seen them tubes.
Mm-hmm.
Bang. Do you know what I mean? I emptied the
Yeah,
skip out of the 4 or 5 of them and now I can just, they're maybe 5 meters long, these things, so I can cut them to size.
yeah,
They
yeah,
are, they're traveling in style.
yeah.
They have protection.
If anyone is interested, you just tell Stephen, your size, and he basically makes it up for you, and he imprints and he works with the companion, and then you get them in a tube, as he said, and can send them worldwide. So it's really very cool. What you got there is a different one.
These are smaller ones. These would be the sort of walk-on stick. There's only so many staff that I do,
Mhm.
because it can be difficult. It's a very hard route to get this product out of. But I would sell more walking sticks. There's today even at work now. 2 old men have bought 2 off me.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Just for presents for their fathers, but it's just that niceness of hand, where it doesn't have to be the staff, as in too large.
Yeah,
It could be something that you nicely walk with, just that
yeah,
elbow height.
absolutely.
Whatever height is suitable to the individual.
Yeah,
I give them that choice, and I communicate a lot with the people. So they pick. If I put a stick up, they pick. I don't just sell this stick's up for sale for such and such. I don't even put that up. The sticks would go up 5 sticks, and does any resonate with you? There's 2 went to Mexico this week, and one went to Pennsylvania, and one to Canada.
wow. For me, there is some significance in that worldwide distribution. That for me sounds like you are creating a grid by sending
Mm.
them all over the world,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
that then they can start communicate. Yeah, oh, I'm getting this right now that they're starting
Mm-hmm.
to communicate with each other,
Yeah,
like
Bit
weaving
like the
the.
crystal skulls. Yes.
like the stone people. It's like the stone. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
the crystal skulls.
Yeah,
You'll
Yeah,
need 13 of them.
I have about
yeah.
13 around me here at the minute.
Wow. So
And I also make these wee small wands as well.
small ones, yeah.
These are nice, sweet, delicate things. And I'm also, I do the small pendulum.
Oh,
They're beautiful and they're very, very responsive. Very, just so lovely to have in your hand. I think just to have the wood itself, no matter what shape or form it comes in, will
yeah.
have the same effect as a staff, or do you know what I mean? It has just that richness of age, like 3,100 years of age.
Yeah.
So inspiring to have lasted and to be nurtured in the womb for so long and still to have its same integrity that it had when it was growing.
All that consciousness that is in there, isn't
It
it?
says a lot for Mother Earth too. Do you know? It says a lot for that.
I was just going to say the preservative qualities of the bog, you know, that comes out in this, because if that had fallen on the ground, it would probably have disintegrated by now by insects and all of that going to it. But with it going into the bog where there was a mixture of water, which is programmable. So how old is that water? And also the mixture of the old moss that forms the peat, and that with the wood, and how that has been preserved, you know, for absolutely thousands of years. People used to use the bog actually to preserve butter and things like that before they had fridges. They used to bury the butter in the bog, and they would wrap it up and seal it and bury it in the bog, and it would come out whenever they wanted it. Perfect, really. It just has that preservative quality.
Do you want to explain what the bog is?
The bog is actually, well, it's not unique to Ireland. Actually, there are bogs in Europe as well, but I suppose in Ireland they have been used a lot for turf. But it's really where the wood, you know, we had forests here in Ireland many years ago, and it was all forest actually. Ireland was an island of forestry, and the trees were knocked down by various settlers that came in, and they were just left there on the ground. But what happened was the water started to lodge in different areas, and that started to grow some kind of a moss, and the moss started to, it's like a soup really. There was a mixture of the water and the moss, and then you had the wood, and that sort of built up layer upon layer upon layer for thousands of years. And that's what bog is. And bog used to be cut by the farmers of thousands of years ago, and even recently, you know, that they would cut the turf. It was called turf, and they would cut it with an instrument that was called a sleigh, and they could cut the turf and they would burn it in their fires. So they were actually burning this material in their open fires. So it was shamanic practice without them even knowing what they were doing, you know. But they didn't actually consciously know, but they knew on another level because they were very in touch with the land. But that's what the bog is. And I was talking to Stephen about down where I came from in Ireland. There's a place called the Cage of Fields, and it's bog as well, where stones have been preserved of settlements that are 5,000 years old. And they found the stones just by accidentally digging them up. But there's an architect or an archaeologist that's involved in this. He's local. And one of the things that he said that I thought was beautiful, he said the sound coming from a structure that's 5,000 years old, when he would hit down the 2-meter arm poke, it would touch off the stone and a sound would vibrate up through it. And he said that there was such a sense of continuity with that ancient stone and the person now holding the arm poke that went down that was 2 meters old. So it's the same principle as what Stephen is talking about with the wood, but it's just in this particular instance, it's stone. So do you understand what bog is now, or have I explained it well enough?
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Stephen, do you want to add anything to that, or do you want to add something do you want to say something about the sound with regards to your sticks? Sticks, companions?
Sound. No, I just like even I like the vibration of them with sound. I just like, if I'm working, you know, it's having that constant sound going into it, that it's being charged, and again, it's aiding in the space that they're being made in. You know, so it's trying to have them made in giving them the respect and knowing where they're going, that they're, and it's enhancing the love of the journey of making them. Even though it's only a vibration, to me, it just means a lot, where we know what it's like, what happens when we play a vibration into water, the way it changes the structure of water. It's no different than the latent energy and what's in this timber, the cellular memory as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
So yeah, just being guided now over this last 3 months on that journey with it. It's obviously this is going to grow for me personally. I do really. It's just a real spiritual thing for me. It's given me that earthing also, and it's given me a real enhancement of my spiritual side that I'm only starting on with. But it's something else. It really is.
Mm.
Just to get it out there, because there is something phenomenal about them traveling and connecting, that interconnectivity, as you said, Martina.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's grandmother spider.
We were just talking to Stephen, do you remember the other day, about the unspoken. What's in the unspoken? That has come up from kind of the bowels of the earth, and it's passed on as the shamanic tool, and it's gone around the world. And what's the message that that's in that unspoken journey?
Yeah,
Mm.
I did see it as being it's come a real channel for the Fae.
Mm.
For it to be resurrected, the wood itself, and there are the tree Fae. I only tapped on this here in a show. I don't know, can't mind what show it was on. So there's tree fairies, there's tree Fae,
Yeah.
elementals. They never leave. They're there. They're always in this stuff. They're always in the stones. They're in the living trees. They're in every substance that's on this plane. But to enliven them and to awaken them with that, understand what is required for this present moment, this age, they want to be awakened. They want to have a purpose. They want us to be channels. We are the manifestors to aid them on that, no matter what we do. You know what
Exactly.
I mean? I think so.
Give them the voice again, because they're quite a powerful folk, aren't they?
Yeah.
So you were saying early on, actually, that you've worked to lift some curses from trees. Do you want to say something a little bit about
that happened. Yeah, that was pretty phenomenal. Where I had two dreams. Again, this happened after the marijuana stopped. And I was just directly in a new shed that I have across the way, and I was standing, and I looked over towards my house here, looked over towards the west, and there was just this massive light being, just standing in a big white robe. And I think the posture was something like this: left hand down, right hand up. Never knew anything. Never knew what I was inspired by it. Yes, but then the next few nights, I woke up briefly and I got this large orb. Seen this large orb, it's 6 inches in diameter to the left hand side. So I decided to get on to, again, a very good friend of mine, Sean Bond, and he done an analysis on the dream. And what came off that was fantastic. It was the Fae and Avalon that were willing to communicate with me. They wanted to chat. They wanted help. And that help was that it was about the ash tree. It's quite ironic, because I was an ash tree in an incarnation, and I have my species kind of have an affinity with the forest. And the message from the dreams was that they wanted a spell that was put on the ash tree, and a priest had taken it to his death, and he was buried in a crypt in Christchurch in Dublin. Now from that knowledge, Sean's higher self and my own higher self linked together and lifted that spell, and the ash trees will heal. And that was what that message was that was coming through. It totally blew me away. Just the analysis of the dream, and for it to come So what's going on in the higher cells, you know what I mean? We mightn't be fully aware of it here, but the functions that they can do on them realms, you know, is fantastic.
And you know, also it just shows the amazing DNA instrument that we actually are, because you know it's not the higher, it's almost not the higher self. Everything is you. It's really just decoding, you know, the code, and it sounds like that's what you start doing. You know, everything's already downloaded anyway. You're just starting to really, it's unfolding now, decoding that DNA.
Yeah.
And what I love, you know, what I love is just that connection to natural living. It's so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't keep us from having Zooms and watching, you know, Netflix and everything, that too. But it's that choice to make. This is now where I am connecting to nature, to the fae, to the fairies and everything. And it's all about your belief system. If you believe it, then that's what you're doing, right?
Yeah, big time of being responsible and taking on that responsibility, especially, you know, when something does get decoded like that. You know, not taking it
Absolutely.
as a big you know what I mean, or an egotistical thing.
Exactly.
You know, it's a real richness of responsibility and enjoyment too, that you're participating.
Oh,
Yeah.
Do you know what I
absolutely.
mean? On
Very
the physical,
exciting.
on the
Yeah.
physical, you know, and it's, yeah, again, inspiring. It doesn't blow me away. It's just, yeah, fuck, nice one, because my whole journey over this past 4 years, spirit has drip fed me. It gives me what I need, the progression to understanding, you know, this truth and our freedom and free will, all the things that to come out to get to the point where you're coming out with no baggage. It just dissolves. Everything dissolves of the old. So you're not coming out of it with shame or blame or guilt. You're coming out of it with your tools of responsibility, your love, your joy, your understanding of what is going on here, you know, and what has been stopping us
They're
from
an
these sort of
extension.
communications and these understandings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's beautiful, beautiful.
But,
Hey guys,
yeah, what I was going to say, just pop up, people, if you have questions, go
yeah,
ahead.
Martina, can I share a story around this fire?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes, do please.
Okay, so I have my own companion as well, and I feel really excited to be talking about this because nice to meet you, by the way, Stephen.
Yeah, lovely, Marty.
And you know, this is about 4 years ago. I had a fire where I was just burning through some stuff in my garden, and I'd never really prayed to the fire that much before. Because I'm glad that you shared the story about the orbs, because it allows me now to tell my story in full as well. And it's the first time I've told it like this about this companion. And I started to sort of, as the night went down, I started to look at the fire, and you know, and it drew me in. And I started to make some prayers that were really heartfelt, and the fire started to respond. You know, there was times where it would grow large, where I'd say things, and then at one point, all the flames changed color, and the whole fire went blue. And this big beam of light came down and hit the fire after these prayers that I just made. And then a message said the gift has been given. And this fire, it was just beautiful. And as because I've got a big connection with extraterrestrials. With me, I do have connections to the lands, but ETs have always been, and the off-worlders have always been a part of my process. And I think it's funny, you know, I think it's nice that you guys are talking about this. And I have my own one that also is connected to the way that my journey has unfolded.
Lovely, yeah.
And so as the fire went on, and I just loved it, it was beautiful. And as I was coming indoors, I just looked up in the sky, and this big blue orb lit up in the sky. It was the Octorians. And they shot across the sky, and they made these like light language, look like laser light language in the sky. And I had these amazing dreams. And when I went down in the morning, the fire was still smoldering. So I had some really ancient oak that I'd digging out of a riverbed in the New Forest in England. And I'd got it when we was away camping. I live in Hertfordshire. And I'd decided to take this home and burn it at ceremonial fire. It was very, very old. And so the next day I decided, because the fire's still smouldering and because of that experience I had the night before, that it's still game on. So, you know, I opened Sacred Space properly this time, and I brought out this old oak. And as I started to burn it, one piece just in my hands, it just lit up. And I sat there all day and into the evening by the side of this fire, covered in ash. And I just worked this piece of wood with my hands and just worked it and worked it and worked it. And this is my staff here.
Ah, beautiful.
Oh, I feel
Hang on, I
beautiful.
can't really show it to you. But yeah, this is old oak, and it has dolphins and whales all down it, and its name is Blue Fire.
Wow.
In homage to when the fire turned blue, and of course the Octorian color as well. But this comes with me everywhere. That's my baby, and it sleeps next to me like some of my other objects, and actually has come into my dreams as well in times of great power. And it's wonderful to hear you talk about these sticks, because you know, sticks, I don't know a better word for them really. I call it the staff because it's not big enough to be a practical walking stick. But I'm shaking because it's just lovely to hear people that have other experiences with these kind of things, because to me that's a very, very special friend.
Lovely.
Oh,
Oh, that's
Yeah.
lovely,
Yeah.
Matty.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, there's one there, Matty. It's actually something very similar.
Yes. Oh, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very similar. Yeah, it looks like fire.
Very dragony. It's got a lot of dragon energy in that, hasn't it?
Yes.
It has.
Beautiful.
But that's a beautiful story there, Matty. I really like that extraterrestrial, your light language show that I was listening to at one time with Martinez. It absolutely blew me away.
Thank you, man. Thank you. I love to hear everybody's stories. I'm just really grateful for us to have this space, and to Martina and the guys for, you know, putting it together so that people like us can come and share and tell our stories. It's lovely, you know.
Exactly.
Yes, and there's something lovely actually about the energy this evening of us gathering around this fire and telling our stories. I don't know if anybody else can feel it, but I certainly can. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I have to bring Dave, our other companion. Yeah. Bring in your staff and tell us about your story with it, because that's quite an interesting one too, isn't it? And
Is he there?
if you need to unmute, Babs.
How's that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
Unmuted. Yeah, mine more came to me over time. When I had my first reading with Andrew, he talked about me. You know, I had related a story to him, and he told me how that I would be making objects out of wood or something, and I'm like, what are you talking about? You know, I don't really know. I had made some like massage sticks that I called them, you know, just like this, so you know you can work your body or whatever from trees that were in my yard. And then like Stephen, I had a divorce, and that kind of changed my path then. And you know, I moved into a condo and kind of you know, the urban shaman, as he calls it. And there were red maple trees that lined the street along the side of the building. And after a storm, a branch had been knocked down, you know, by the wind and that. And I saw this, you know, piece of wood, and I said, "Oh, I'm gonna make something of that." And you know, I kind of pulled it off and took it in and put it on my deck, and it sat there for 5 or 6 years. The only thing that happened to it was I had carpenter bees come and start making homes in it. So I have, you know, like 4 holes in it that, you know, were drilled by them that they were in until was it the 2019? The spring they were doing the stucco on the outside of the building, and they made us clear our decks and bring everything in. They had scaffolding up, you know, and I brought it in, and I saw the bees coming back, and they're on the other side of the scaffolding, like, where'd our home go? Where'd it go? And but it was, you know, 8 weeks before, and they were gone. And then so I was, you know, like, oh, they're gone. And then I had it out. We were in the mentorship group. We were doing a roast, and it was my turn to be roasted. And I had my staff, my other shamanic, you know, tools out there. And it's like, okay, what happens? And then, you know, it was like a process with the summer solstice. And it was like of this year, it's like, okay, I got to do something. What's going on? You know, first I just cut the bark off, and it always had the look to me of like a dragon with, you know, the head like that.
Ooh.
And then I said, what am I going to do? You know, you can only carve so much. So I got a magnifying glass, and I started using the sun to burn, you know, different patterns and stuff in it. And first it was just, you know, a line down, seeing what the wood was giving me. You know, there was a crack all the way down. So I said, oh, the fire of the belly of the dragon. So, you know, I went down there, and then it started coming to me because I follow astrology a lot. So it was like, what's going on in the sky? And it was right after the Lion's Gate that Mars and the black moon were conjunct in Aries. So I was using the sun the day that was happening to burn that into the wood.
Wow.
Lovely, lovely. David.
And at that time, it was also square Pluto, but I got Saturn and Jupiter in Capricorn. So I added that there. So as stuff was happening in the sky, I would use the sun of that day to put it in. You know, like on the other side here, the moon, it's upside down, but the moon or the sun was in Leo. And at the time of that, Venus was at the point of my sun, which is in Cancer. So I added that too at that time. So I'm kind of pulling in all these cosmic energies through the sun at the time it's happening to do it. And then, you know, at the time of that new moon, the new moon there in Leo was also conjunct Mercury, and they were square, or they were
astrology lesson here.
and they were trine the galactic center, and once again Mars in Aries. And at the time Mars went retrograde, there were 6 planets going backwards.
Yeah.
Plus Chiron,
Yeah,
which was also retrograde. So it was capturing the astrology of 2020 there.
That's fantastic.
It is.
absolutely.
But yours makes the sound too. You can play it too, right?
Right. Yeah. As you know, like I told you about the carpenter bees, the stripes were in honor of them. And then the holes, let's see, you can see like a hole there, and hold on.
That's fantastic.
So it has its own sound too.
Amazing, David.
You're a bona fide wizard, man.
Oh, definitely. That magnifying the sun to do them matching. That if we could only get the sun here in Ireland for a period of time. But I never. That's awesome, David. Awesome.
You could do prayers like that. You could do prayers. You could do stories. You could pass on legacies. That's just an incredible way to make an object, to pass on information, even hidden information.
Yes.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Right, and it captured the astrology of 2020, which was, you know, massive change if you follow it. You know, starting with the Saturn Pluto conjunction in Capricorn in January. So you know,
Brilliant.
it you know, kind of brought in all those energies and sound.
Thank you so much. Thank you
And,
so much.
even, you know, like the smoke coming out, because this is bark that didn't quite break off. So there, and I had a feather in there too, so it kind of, you know, has a lot in it.
It's one of the most creative tools I have seen. The way that's been made, that is fantastic. not a chisel near it, not a, you know, on the magnifying glass. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, David.
That is amazing, yeah, isn't it? Oh, I love it.
it's
Thank you
beautiful.
guys for all those stories. Now we've had a question here, Stephen. Somebody asked if you're selling your companions at in Tara Hill, in a Tara Hill shop. Probably not just yet, eh?
Not yet. I did actually plan on visiting it. At the minute, it's just through my website, Stephen Mc Garry 08@gmail.com, or visit Cranberry Crafts on WhatsApp or Facebook. Sorry.
Yeah.
And you can contact me there. I just haven't got that far around to, because the sticks that I'm making, they're going.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's one of those. My plan is I'm just going at them nicely here. I'm doing a wee bit more. I stepped into a bit of work this year, just recently. I'm going to grasp the money. It's local work. It's what I do. I love doing it. But that exchange to move into this fully, I just haven't got that far to the shops, because it is a plan.
Oh,
know,
absolutely.
To go, but I find even I just like, even I'm not going to shops, to tell you the truth. It's just the contact or people finding out. Because at the end of the day, you know what, I'm not in a manufacturing business. You know, there's only so many I can do.
Yeah.
There's only so many I can put out. You know, once you go down that route, you know, I find word of mouth and contact and the unseen world can guide those two, because that seems to be the way it's happening on word of mouth.
Let it naturally evolve.
Yeah, I think getting into that other end is just, I don't want to be in that, you know, because I don't want to be in that mode like ordinary working life. I want my own life as well. Yeah. And they do take a day to make. They take a day, because there's a lot of work to get into the quality that they are at.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have your own spiritual life, you have your path, you have your relationship, you know, you have many things that you incorporate in your life, which ordinary working routine doesn't allow for.
Don't want to go back into the rat race, you know.
Yeah. So anybody who wants to contact it, that would be it's best contact me and strike a link that way. And I like that actually for communication as well.
Yeah.
You know, and playing it by people, what they would like, what resonates them, because I like people getting that wee tingle. Or, you know, that wee factor. Well, that's the link. To me, that is the link. You know, and then you take it
absolutely. You know, talking to Tara Hill, there was a specific, there was quite an experience you've had in Tara Hill, wasn't it? Because you've been.
Oh yes, it's quite ironic. Like, until I got divorced, I had never visited a magical site in Ireland, and I was approaching 49 then, or approaching my 50th, and unbelievable when I went to that place. But I remember distinctly walking up on top of the hill where the Stone of Destiny is, and it was facing east. And I put my two hands out to the side, and I just got this whack in the heart, and tears flowed out of the eyes. There's something. I got this distinct feeling I was home. But even recently, I went up for the Lugnasa. That's the 1st of August, and there was actually nobody up at it, and I was up, and at the the Mound of the Hostages, there's an old stone inside it, and I remember doing pendulum work as well, like, and it confirmed that I had been there many, many times as a priest, as many different functions. I've had druidic incarnations, you know, many, but I felt home. I really felt at home when I went to that place. It just was home, just the people that I had connected with, that organic way of life, you know, sleeping in the car, down by the well, waking up, wee fire, your pot of tea on it, sitting around it, drinking your tea, enjoying conversations, listening to people's stories. Because the man I come across where I got a lot of inspiration from was, he's passed now last year, was a man called J.P. Fay. He was a true warrior. He was head of the anti-fracking here in Ireland. And I just learned a lot from that man. just his way and his courage and what he had done. Do you know what I mean? He was a true warrior. And again, his second name was Faye.
Seems to be the thing, right?
You know what I mean? It's just these
Yeah.
synchronicities that you just, you know, and this term Faye. But yeah, the link, and again, my beautiful partner, that was how we met. That was at Tara Hill. And that happened there was a tent set up for the celebration, and I was out chopping a piece of wood, and she was across the way in a camper van, and she got transported back to some other age. And after this, we had got ancestral readings and healings and stuff done, and it was revealed that we had traveled 9 times. But where the hatchet had come in was we were in 2 tribes in the medieval times. There was 2 distinct tribes, and we started to see each other outside the tribes. But I got the hatchet in the back, and that was the link, the traumatic link with the hatchet and me and transporting her. And after various readings with Andrew and different people, it revealed we have done a lot of business over 9 incarnations or something.
Wow.
We were here to get that resolved where there shouldn't be 2 tribes for one, there should be 1 tribe. But it was just that, and we're living it. We're living it in peace and harmony and love and joy, you know what I mean? And freedom and free will. We have our, you know what I mean? Just being yourself, which is a struggle to get, believe you me. It is a battle to get that expression.
Yeah.
But we found it. We found it. And again, that linked all in as well with my ancestors. My father, my true father, I'd never met. I'd never met him. And this is a pretty mad one. And this particular day, my Paula, she was getting a healing done, and it revealed a lot about ancestry. But I was down in Athlone, and I was directed to go into the charity shop. And I walked into the charity shop, and I always wanted one of those old army coats. Do you know what I mean? Because of the cloth and stuff, kept you warm. And I walked into the rack, and I put this coat on. The coat fitted perfectly, and I took it off and looked inside, and there was my father's name.
No.
On the boat. Still have it. I'm tingling now. I just never met him. And I don't think it was meant to matter. You know, I was a person that I didn't need anything to do. I was here to break everything in the institution. I wasn't to get locked into anything. Family life, family ways. I had to find love, find out what love was, to break all them codes, break all them conditions, find them myself, you know what I mean? And honored everything. I never held anything against anybody, and found it. And since then, sent to the light. He's been sent to the light and various things. It's phenomenal, the journey and connection to this place where I've been brought to. You know, and the very place that we're living on, the ferry fort behind us, the lines, the spirit lines, the lay of the land. Wow. This is the place for work.
Yes.
This is the place.
This is when we don't call work anymore, right?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I just want to come and do a fire with you, Stephen.
Oh, you're quite welcome, my friend. Just get over any time.
I was just thinking, you know, once the all this lockdown business is gone and we can all freely travel again, we're all going to go up to Ireland, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
We're all going to meet up there and get together and go to Tara Hill.
Yes.
Go to Tara Hill. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ishnock is a lovely spot too. That's where the womb chakra is. I think Tara Hill would be classed as the heart center.
Yeah, it's less commercial as well, isn't it? So you can kind of you could do a little bit more practice there without all the tourists everywhere, like Avebury over here.
Yeah.
Well, that's
and we need some drums.
That's the problem with the sites, Molly, is there's a lot of people bring a lot of karmic baggage to them.
They do. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're doing.
They don't know that they're sacred, you see, but that's what religion has done. Religion has taken spirituality, you see, people on a different path where they're not in heart center. You know, they're working on two pillars. The middle pillar's not there.
Yeah.
So true.
You know, and
Yeah.
they're bringing that whole ego and thinking they're okay and blah blah, but it's not. I witnessed it my months that I was there, and it has all these sites toxic by people not understanding these things, like trying to claim authority or trying to reenact rituals that don't have the substance. You know what I mean? Don't have the authenticity and richness of what they were.
They do it like a fashion, Stephen. It's like a fashion statement for many people. The path of the shaman takes, it's a process, and it takes weeks, months, years of just repetition and repetition, you know, and
Exactly.
you know, and you have to come to those places clean and humble, you know, clean and humble.
Definitely. And it is, I got it. My first time I went to it, you know, there's people, you know, that ask for this and they ask for that. And I didn't. I just loved being there. I just let it do its thing and my understanding of it. And that's what I came away from it. I never asked for anything, I never done anything. I just enjoyed being there. And I seen how, through other people's complexities, I kept myself to myself on my mindset. I just love doing the basic things of communicating and not getting involved in any conflict, any irregular debate, just keeping myself to myself. And looking back on it, it was phenomenal. A pure guidance to just for the qualities that it showed me, and I wanted to be ignited within my being. That I sort of knew not to offend the place. You know, just beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
When we truly recognize that everything is alive, everything has a life force, like that staff in your hands right now is alive. You're connected to that tree back in time. Everything is interconnected, you know. When you realize that, then you realize the responsibility that you have everywhere that you go is in your own life, you know. And once you develop that sense of inner compass, you know, inner moral code, then you display that wherever you go, to the land, to the other people that you meet. And that's when you really have nothing to prove to anybody. And that's the point where life opens up, isn't it? That's where your true light begins to shine. You know, nothing to prove to anyone, just a journey.
As simple as that. As simple as that. And everyone, as I said earlier, you know, the spirit drip feeds me, and it doesn't. I just noticed the formula, and I noticed what way it was happening. It never gave me anything that was too far away. It was incorporating things, and I was getting the awareness. And their qualities, their values, just simple things about your code of conduct in life, the way you go about your way, keeping yourself centered. And there's a real wee winner of a book that I read again within these 4 years. I don't know where I've come across it. The Celestine Prophecy.
Yes, I've read that one.
That is an absolute. Now that wee book will teach you the power of what it's like to be centered, and how not being centered, where that actually comes from. And it comes from our upbringing, where we're first told no, and energy harvesting. And that is a big, big thing, that until people check that and find that out, because I look at that wee book as a Bible, where, and again, relating it to Andrew's teachings, where, you know, like if you're not in heart center, your energy is being siphoned. Your energy is being used against Earth Mother. You know what I mean? You're being vamped. But when you're in heart center, and that concept of understanding energy harvesting, you know, you can't be touched. You need that basis. You need that foundation and that angle, that viewpoint to, you know, like a tree standing in the forest, quite simply to look and view life, and that understanding, knowing that, yeah, keep yourself to yourself, or keep yourself centered, and nothing can. All your qualities will unfold.
The heart is where we really think from. The heart is where we should think from. Not from the gut, not from the mind, but from the heart.
Exactly.
Union with all of the other parts.
100%.
So Stephen, do you ever muse as to whether you may have experienced those trees when they were alive in some other life? I can't help but with my stuff, I can't help but feel something, that there must be a deep connection there, something through time.
Well, I think, yeah, that's, well, you could, well, if, with having druid incarnations, I would find that, you know, where ancestors are concerned, you know, ancestors are just not that physical ancestors, there's elemental ancestors. You know, there's trees, there's stones, there's everything we have come across. Like there's a stone I have out here that I was guided to have have it beside my fire. And it's unbelievable what that stone is. It's just a bear hugging its mother, hugging its a small cub. And that's love. It's just a pure symbol of love that I just got here in the garden. And that's my pinnacle stone beside the fire. You know, so there's something
Beautiful.
Yeah, there's something in that, as you're saying. It's again ancestral, your ancestral path and your journeys before. Even my link, I was saying, to the forest, to the ash tree, to the oak, if you're a druidic.
I mean,
You know,
just
the oak
imagine.
was
So just imagine, Stephen, if you know, like, if they were us in former lives. I mean, how powerful would that be? Holding a staff from a stick that was a tree that was you. You know,
Yeah.
infinite possibilities, man.
Yeah. I actually like that. I will not. I would definitely not knock anything out. No way.
I'm just musing.
It could be a very strong suggestion there, Mary. I like that because there's something, I don't know. There's just something so even human about them.
Yeah, they're magical. They've got a complete life force of their own.
Yeah.
You know, and all of the thoughts and the feelings that we have, and when they sleep next to us, they gain energy and they gain energy and they gain energy. You know, and that energy is transferred to the tree from which it came from as well. You know.
It's a bit like the stone people, and the stone people are connecting, like, or the crystals, you know, they're connected all around the planet. You know, so this story, we're talking here about them, we're talking as we're around the fire, we're around the technology fire. You know, they love it. They want to be recognized. They want their voice to be heard, that, yeah, we're here. We're
My
not,
blue fire couldn't. Sorry, Stephen. Sorry.
we're just not pieces of timber.
That's
We're
right.
not just something. Go on ahead.
My stick was literally, I was shaking while you guys were talking, and I had to go and grab him and bring him up here because it was like it was going me. You know, I could feel it. me. My turn.
Yeah. An accident.
I think
Yeah, this
Sean's
is-
is saying that too.
Yeah.
What do you
Hi.
have there?
I have, well, first off, the honor to be here. This is my first time. So
Lovely to have
Welcome.
you.
thanks
Sure.
everybody
You're
for
welcome.
being here
Yeah.
and creating such a sacred virtual fire. And noticed a lot of synchronicities besides people who I recognize from Andrew Bartz's chat rooms and Stephen, my dad's father grew up near well, he's from County Meath, from Ratoath.
Okay.
And so that's where that line came from. So I've been kind of like really humming like a power line as you've been telling your stories. And so thank you. And thank you, Dave. I noticed a lot of similarities when you were
Yeah.
talking about
Yes.
your staff. I just suddenly one day in early, or I guess the summer of 2017, I had been doing some wizardry work, I guess geomancy with a fellow wizard friend in Fairmount Park in Philly. And just one day I was like, I think I need a staff. And the next day I walked into a park and there was a tree that had like clearly just fallen because the leaves were still like on the fallen branch. They were like still like bursting with life. So I cut this from a section that had been fallen and would be decaying unless I kept it alive in a different form. And like Dave, I was very called to draw on my astrology for this one. In this case, Gemini Sun, Aries Moon, and Capricorn Rising.
Beautiful.
Did you
Lovely.
did you
Beautiful.
also use the sun and the thing?
Yeah, I put the sun glyph next to the Gemini. It's still very much a work in progress. I've been, I was waiting for it to speak to me, and then I would add stuff to it. And I also attuned the staff to Reiki 1. So this
Okay.
this is a
Hooray.
Reiki 1 practitioner.
Brilliant. It's a great concept.
Yes.
Did you use a magnifying glass too?
No, the friend that I mentioned happened to have a wood burning
Okay.
tool, and I asked if I could borrow it, and I just started working. It was my first time trying to wood burn anything, and that fall I went to Corey Good's workshop on Mount Shasta, and I was one of the first couple people to arrive. So I took an hour or so and like marked off the boundaries of the campground and called in angels and protection for the I guess a couple hundred people who were arriving. And I even ran into the what looked like a really rough and tumble organizer, like the guy who was in charge. And I said, so is it okay that I'm like, calling in angels and like beings to protect the place? He's like, why would I have a problem with that? I was like, all right, here we go. So I guess that's the gist. Nice to meet everybody. Nice to be here for my first time, and such an unexpected topic. I had no idea that it would fit so relevantly into stuff that I do as well.
Does yours have a name?
Lovely.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah.
You're welcome.
That's what synchronicity, right? The flow of synchronicity.
Absolutely. And Matt, Maddie or Matt?
Maddie, yeah.
Either or.
All right. He or she hasn't told me yet. I guess he hasn't told me its name yet.
Fair enough.
So this is interesting. I've just asked him if he's got a name, and he says he cannot be named because he's got too many names. He can't be pinned down. So mine
tricky bugger.
Absolutely not, because he doesn't find.
It suits you, Martina.
Yes.
As a time traveling companion, he needs free flowing. And okay, so he's saying that he will be giving me the name when I go into a particular timeline with him, or a particular past life or something. All right, cool. Thank you.
Fantastic.
Nice.
And one more thought is I was very admiring, Dave, that you have the naturally formed wind and audio holes.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to have a man-sized flute ever since I saw Circle of Iron back in the mid 80s. Does anybody know that movie?
No.
Not familiar with that one.
It had been written by Bruce Lee before he died. And then it was made into a bad B movie with like brilliant Zen spirituality with David Carradine, with a couple of Bruce Lee's students writing and directing. And it's just all wandering through like desert vistas, and David Carradine as the blind martial arts master is walking around with a staff that he can stop play the flute on it.
Lovely.
Wizardry.
definitely.
Circle of Iron. Is that what you called it?
Two titles, yeah. Circle of Iron, and it's also called The Silent Flute.
I must
Wow.
look that up. That sounds interesting.
Mm.
Thank you for sharing that one now.
Very welcome. And thank you for being here and sharing everything.
Yeah, it's a lovely group of people and so on. Yeah. Thank you, Martina.
No, thank you guys.
Thank you.
I'm just a hub. We're just a hub here. You make it all work, you know. So it's a privilege. It's an honor to witness that. I'm truly I'm like grinning the whole bloody time. I'm just so happy to have you guys here. Without you guys, it would be nothing. It would be just you know, our 5 Earth Nouveauers.
Yeah.
Wishful thinking. So no, thanks for making it happen. So use the opportunity. Ask away. This is your safe space. Ask away or share what you want to share.
Can I say something? Can I ask David something?
Sure.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Hi Dave. Have you done anything like that before for anyone? No?
Never. This is the first. You know, the only thing I did with the magnifying glass, you know, they got as a kid was, you know, kind of burn a block of wood or maybe some ants that were crawling by. But that was the extent of my, you know, use of the magnifying glass. And
the reason I asked because one of my Dreamtime realities was that I have learned to play the flute. I don't play the flute, but I have learned. And, you know, I obviously have written it down and I processed it. And more is coming up to learn to play the flute. So when you started to play, it's like, oh, please stop it already. So it's like everything is telling me to play the flute. So in my dream time, I was playing the flute and everybody was really happy. So I'm going to learn it. I don't know how. That's why I asked you whether you have done it before or again or thinking about it or whatever. But when you started to play, and I'm thinking, oh, he's telling me to play the flute. So yeah, I'm thinking about it to get one, but I don't know what kind of, you know.
We'll find you.
Reality. Something will show up, I'm sure. Yeah.
It will probably find you.
Of course. Yeah. I bring the fudge to Ireland. That's what I was going to say.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Obviously, yes.
I wonder, could you make a flute with this wood here as well? No doubt. I've often wondered about the flute and how you would make them, and you know, and you get the notes.
I think in ancient times, Stephen, they did make flutes out of the wood before, you know, they had the kind of aluminium flutes that they have now. Yeah. I think that way back when they used to gather around the fires, you know, for Halloween and that kind of thing, for Samhain, of course, it would be here. They did have kind of homemade instruments. I don't know how they made them. Yeah.
The fairy flute made with this.
Oh, can you imagine the music?
There could be something very enchanting about that. Playing it around the fire.
Yeah, yes.
Because I often didn't wonder, I must look into that. You know, there has to be a science in what way you drill the holes at a certain size. Because you'd want to be keeping it within the solfeggio frequency as well. So, you know, everything that you're playing, no matter what note you're playing, is medicine.
It is, isn't
Same
it?
as the guitar, if you tune your guitar from 432 down instead of the 440, that modern day music is concerned, that's the toxicity of the music nowadays. They took it off kilter.
Right.
There was I think it's the British School of Music and the Rockefeller Institute had a lot to do with that, where they changed the natural harmonic of music, because all music is going to play at every chord. If you have a tune from 432, I think you come to the C major, and it's the 528, which is the heart chakra.
Yes.
Which is the vibration of grass and stuff like that growing.
I have worked a tuning fork to balance the chakras, and that's worked on the notes, the musical notes.
Exactly.
Yeah. It will pick up if the chakra is off, you'll hear it in the note, and then when you realign it again, you'll actually hear the note that is back in tune.
Yes.
It's just, yeah. It's really, really simple, actually. But yes, I do get what you're saying about the music, and how it has been knocked off, because of course that's a natural feed for us, isn't it, our music, and it's going to be one of the areas that was going to get hit, as it were.
Oh, it's big, it's black magic.
Yeah.
Really is dark.
Yeah.
That's what was the dark ones that worked to do that, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
to take that out. Because I've even went to a few music places and mentioned it to them, music shops, and wow, you know, places in Galway opened maybe 80 to 100 years. I never knew that. I'd have to check that out.
Can I fire a question at you, Stephen?
Sorry?
Can I fire a question at you?
You can.
Yeah. So with my shamanic practice, because I live in a built-up area, you know, so I do have outdoor fires, but a lot of my stuff is done indoors using alcohol and salt crystals and things like that. And so many of my objects are made of timber, you know. And do you ever come across things that could be bowls or plates or cups or all these different kinds of objects that one could have on an altar?
What, to make them?
No, or just to find different bits. Do you find a lot of this timber, this ancient timber?
Yeah, well, yeah. There's I haven't been out in the bog for a couple of years now, but because I've my shed down there full of it. But right, the rooty stuff, yeah.
Yeah, because you know there could be a big market for that. You know, not just staffs and sticks and things, but all manner of things that could go onto an altar or be sacred objects. You know, I think, you know, it would be, I'd pay a pretty penny for a lovely piece if it, you know, all that energy, all that ancient wisdom.
You see, there's a thing with the root and stuff is concerned. I did, you know, to be more creative and to incorporate that, because I have ideas, you know, working with because there can be a lot of cracks and stuff in it, but incorporating resin and, you know.
Yeah, or beeswax.
Resin, beeswax, incorporating the crystal where, you know, you can get that shape, you can get that form, because it is a very difficult, it's just a very difficult wood to get solid. Do you know what I mean? And that richness.
Yeah,
I do.
And that thickness. So I have thought of it, even for lines of staffs. I've thought for the tops of staffs is again that orgonite.
Yes,
orgonite and different things that makes them a wee bit more unique. Because I've done a few bowls out of different types of materials that we have on our own altar here. But bog oak is a very temperamental wood.
Right.
You know, that's why these sticks with the shape, there's never a straight stick. It's just the way that they have dried in the slab, you know what I mean? And that's the shape of them. But once you go to do anything where you're going to bring it into a house, say like a bowl, or the only way I can think for it to hold its integrity is incorporating it in a resin, like resin, fill the cracks, so that gives it that integrity, you know.
Yes.
But I'll keep you informed and see what ideas on down the line, Matty. That
definitely. And I've actually thought about doing that myself. You know, the idea, because Andrew says when you use when you do orgonite with beeswax, it's actually a living being, a live living being, and it's easier to also get any sort of negative entities and things that it may absorb out of it. But I did think about that. You could just fill in all of the little cracks and the little bits and bobs with beeswax mixed with crystals and certain, you know, metals and things. Beautiful. Crystals, copper wires. You could really, you know, amplify that energy of that being.
It's funny because Andrew actually, when I got a reading done there, one of the readings I got done, he mentioned that to me about the orgonite pyramids, because you know, it said I had beeswax here, I have beeswax, and I do plan now next year is the bee boxes. It's a new thing I'm going to go into. I'll be putting the bee boxes out around this land. It's organic land. And again, it will be fitting in with that idea of the orgonite in the beeswax, and they're just the way it would resonate. I think it's a very rich concept, that instead of resin.
He also said the difference is that if you when you've got that solid orgonite, because I worked with that for a while, I use alcohol now instead, and with that solid resin, where you'll see the little orbs get absorbed into them, and it's impossible to get them out of that solid resin. But with the beeswax, all you have to do is put it into the oven on a very low temperature, allow it to melt, and then sit there for a while, and then you pour it back into the mold, restructure it, and all the negativity is gone.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah.
That's recycling at its finest. Definitely.
Alchemy.
Yeah, man, you've put a lot of things into my mind there. That's actually good to know, and the cleansing of them.
Yeah, exactly. I buried all my old organite.
Yeah, because there's a lot of organite out there isn't particularly made right, is it?
I think it's also to do with the fact that they just retain everything. So, you know, if you're moving around, you know, from when I first started making organite, I mean, the things I was still doing and the moral code was still very relaxed, you know, and to carry around objects like that just absorb, but can't be cleansed, it just sounds a bit dirty, you know?
Yep. That sounds interesting there now. A nice supper bowl or something that has that organite, that just there's something. So it still wouldn't pass through the beeswax.
What wouldn't pass?
In the
Sorry,
cleansing, you still have to heat it for the negativity to go out of it.
yeah, I mean, you could with the right prayer process, you can do it, but there's just, you know, there's something about heat. Like I even boil money, you know, if I get money, I boil it. That takes out all the energy out of it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There's something about the heat that removes the negative energy and any entities or anything that might be held to it.
I get you.
Obviously, you can't do that with a solid plastic, of course, you know. But when it comes to like ceremonial objects, you know, you could really play there, man. I'd love, because I use like a big crystal of salt, you know, the little type that they put candles in, the big piece with a hole bored out in the middle, and I fill that with Himalayan salt crystals. So it's all Himalayan salt, and it sits on a wooden bowl with some crystals around it, and I put alcohol into it, and I light that indoors, and that's my ceremonial fire.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, imagine then incorporating something that's thousands of years old with seams of organite running through, and, you know, just to amplify that, you know, medium-sized flame, amplify the power and the potency of it. It's beautiful.
Maybe if I come across a wee bit that you could finish off, you can incorporate your idea, or I could give you a small piece, Matty, and you could put your own touch to your own and have it unique, so you can finish it off with the beeswax and the organite and whatever that do.
We'll discuss it privately, shall we? I don't want to take over the Zoom.
Okay. All right.
Maddie, did you mean
The
this?
juice is flowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got Sean wanting to show us another tool he's got there. What's that, Sean?
Well, I think this is what Maddie was just talking about.
That's it. That's right.
Oh,
but yeah,
wow.
so I have one like that, but it's just a hole at the top, and I fill that up with the salt crystals, and then pour the alcohol into that, and I light that.
Cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Gorgeous.
We've got so many tool makers.
Yes.
Impressed. Because I remember, Dave, you do other tools too, isn't it?
Yeah, I have this one here that was from our mentorship trip to Barbados. Started it, where we were taking the final picture we were taking was on the beach, and you know, this wave hit us, and you know that, and I get home and my trunks pockets were full of sand. You know, the Barbadian sand. I said, oh, I got to do something with this and that. So, you know, I got a spice jar and had a little bit of, you know, that, but it, you know, it just, you know, filled very little. So what else can I do? Well, I had a crystal that the guy gave us at Harrison Cave. So I added that. Then I had some other stuff around. I had shells from the Outer Banks of North Carolina, from a mystical trip I had out there. Then a stone from Stone Mountain, North Carolina, which this is the southern escarpment of the Appalachian Mountains. And then some bark from redwood trees in Big Sur, California, when I was out there. An acorn from around my neighborhood, you know, for more wood, and a piece of Numite, which is from Greenland, but a wizard stone. And I just combined all those together in here. So I have, you know, energies stretching, you know, from Barbados out to the coast of California, of, you know, trips, you know, along my shamanic journey.
See, nobody has an excuse to come up with some tool creation, right? You just need to have a little bit of imagination and the passion for it, I suppose.
Mm.
Yeah, then it's, you know, like a meditation tool where I can bring in those, and, you know, like you've said, Maddie said, and Stephen said, everything's alive. And we bring that life energy with us and here, and, you know, just work with the elemental forces, and see where it takes you.
And your intentions and your prayers give it power. And when you put something on your altar and it's with you, and you take it around with you, just that intention, you can make anything sacred. It's just a choice. But when you choose to be creative with it like that, you know, and notice when you're in a moment of power, or when you're having a beautiful moment, take something with you, you know, and then craft these things into your magic and your protection, and or whatever else it is. You know, it's a beautiful process. I enjoy it immensely, and these objects become just so dear to me, you know.
And the other thing you can do, I'm sorry if there's noise in the background here, is collecting objects from sacred sites, as we're talking about. If you collect them at the time of like a new moon, and then you take them home, and then you work with them at the full moon, from all different sacred sites, you can do your own sort of medicine wheel, you can do your own wheel connection from home, and connect. You be the hub of the interconnectivity for all these different sites that you visited. So I might go to 8 different sacred sites in the south of England here, and then in the full moon, the time of collect them, a time of low energy, and then a time of high energy, I might do a ceremony at home and connect to all those places, send your precogs there, and send revocations and so on.
Like a little bee picking up pollen and dropping off pollen.
Yes.
Yeah, and
The lovely image.
In the beginning, I made the mistake of taking stones. I was a big stone collector in the beginning, and I used to take them from churches, and I was a real novice, because I thought, oh, I'm getting them from pagan sites. And I spoke to Andrew. He said, you need to get those as far away from your home as you can, because the pagan collection will be about 4 meters deep by now. So I was taking rucksacks and rucksacks of heavy stones way away from my home in the middle of the countryside there. So I learnt. You learn as you go on, don't you?
Yeah.
You do.
What comes to mind here again is that of you guys being aware, you know, everyone who does that with awareness, being weavers of consciousness grids. That really, that bringing that together, you know, because yes, we're using it as tool for ourselves, but what have you actually created in the unseen?
Yeah.
Just by bringing, you know, when I look
Yeah.
at Dave's tool, I mean, this is just like, whoa, completely alive in there, you know, all these different levels of awarenesses and consciousness creating something so beautiful, huh?
And another thing that I've done, you know, along those lines, like say I was in Mount Shasta, and I got some Mount Shasta manganite there that I have. And then as the urban shaman, you know, you only have so many choices. eBay has been one where I've gone on and got, you know, other stuff that's unique to places in the world. Like this is Egyptian desert glass, you know, that's only found in the Great Sand Sea between Egypt and Libya. And that, or a Herkimer diamond from Herkimer, New York.
Gorgeous.
And that, and malachite from Madagascar. So I, you know, kind of have my own little grid going from different spots around the world, and then integrate, you know, those energies just into my practices.
I've got some as well. I just love this discussion, seeing what you guys have got. I love my little object. So this is from Egypt. This is from the pyramids in Egypt. I've never been there. This is from a special mine in Africa. I've got water from the Nile, and all manner of other things from different places as well.
Yeah, and you know, once I started, stuff started coming to me. You know, my initial eBay search was for a Australian bull roar, which is like a piece of wood on the end of the string that they spin, and it spins one way and then unwinds the other and makes a sound. And then stuff just started popping up. Here, you know, here's a suggestion. Then I got stuff from Peru, like this, that's carved and painted, you know, the leopard, the sun.
Lovely.
What else we got? The two-headed serpent and that, and it's heavy.
Did you
And
paint it, Dave? Did you paint
no, it
that?
came, it
Okay.
came that way.
Lovely.
You know, and it said, you know, from, you know, the granddaughter of a Peruvian shaman,
Wow.
you know, who was doing stuff, but it's, you know, yeah. So it's, you know, trying to find spots from all around the world.
I would like to call that soul shard integration.
How about interconnectivity?
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, if you're drawn to these things, then it has to have some sort of connection. So, you know.
Yeah.
I have a
Lovely.
special wee candle, a wee candle here, and it's a candle that has been lit. It was lit from the Ishnock fire, the Beltana festival. Now that fire goes back thousands and thousands of years. So I wonder what sort of connection one can get there with that candle. You know, just listening to this topic, it has opened it up a wee bit for myself as well.
Is that a flame that's been going continuously going for?
Not continuously going, Matty. No, it's lit at Beltana every year.
Right, oh, I understand. Sorry, I was so like, what the bloody hell with a 4,000-year-old flame? That'd been amazing. I want some.
I think they done archaeology at one time at it, and there was, I think there was an elk carcass right at the very bottom of the pit. At one time they maybe had sacrificed it, you know, but I think any time you would light a candle from it, there has to be a connection within your mind where you can go into that whole ancestral depth.
Oh, absolutely. The fire is the first shaman.
Yeah. It's just I'm only looking at over here in the corner, and it's only brought it to light from this conversation and these wee objects, Dave and everybody else, in the stones. The stones are amazing too. They're, oh, if you're anyway shamanically inclined, you know, you lift a stone, you're attracted to it. There's either a face in it, or there's a being, or there's something looking out at you. There's a character, it has personality. Do you know what I mean? There's the same.
They used to cook, Stephen, with the stones way back in the 5,000 years ago. They would get a little pit of water and they would actually heat the stones in the fire, and they would throw the hot stones into the little water pit, and that would be hot enough to boil things. You know, that's how they used to cook before they cooked on fires, which was another step from that. Yeah, the stones are very versatile because then they'll cool and they'll just hold their shape.
Exactly.
They don't disintegrate because they're burned. You know, they can hold the heat. Yeah.
I think even if you're camping as well, the stones that are around the fire, if you were sleeping, say, in a hammock and you're out and covered, put them in below your bed, and the heat off them will keep you thermally warm.
Really?
Yeah. I think they would even have heated their beds with the stones.
That's true. Yeah, because your body would heat them, so that would be the exchange again between the body and the stone, because then they in turn would heat you. So there was an energy exchange going on there.
Exactly. Yeah. I think they were also put in a crate. They would have put their stones in the house fire. Something that tells me in research, and that I had a crate, and they could have taken it into the bedroom, and the heat of the stones would have heated the room.
Yeah,
right. Taken the bitterness off, taken the chill off it.
And of course, they use heated stones now for massage. You know, you can get hot stone back massages and all sorts of things. Yeah.
But thinking about the multi-dimensional aspect of the beings within them, the mystery schools within the stones, you know, that connection, because there is a thing I find that, and I've just tapped on this as well, where we can look, you know, to different places for stones and crystals and overlook the stones that are actually in the place where you are in the now.
Yeah.
There are stones, a stone could be, it could be an inch, but there could be a mystery school within that stone that is willing to work with you.
Yeah.
but we are going outside it for a, a greater object. And I find that lovely, because
Yeah. We're inclined to do that, aren't we? Look outside. I think that with the energy that's coming in now, we're beginning to learn to look more within or nearer home.
well, there is that wee saying that Mother Earth is so, she looks after her children so well that within a mile and a half radius, there's everything that we require
I would believe that.
to live a happy, sustainable life. And I think that
Mm.
would bring that concept in, because the stones, the old people would have used the stones as well for blocking energies, for blocking the ley lines, for blocking out the geopathic stress. Copper can be used. There's many different functions. But you can put a stone and you can ask that stone where it'll arc the geopathic stress over your place.
Right.
That's how you can make your place sacred. It's one of the techniques. Or a copper ring. Or another fascinating man I tapped into was Slim Spurling. Did any of you ever hear of him?
No.
Nope.
Unbelievable man. He worked with copper and copper rings and things called harmonizers. But the copper rings, they were based on the sacred cubit measurement and the lost cubit measurement. And once you cut anything to that frequency or that size, first of all, you doubled over the wire and you twisted it, and then you cut it to the size, and then you bring that into a loop. You're in a frequency of light. I think if it's the sacred cubit measurement, you're in 144 hertz. If you cut it to the lost cubit measurement, because these were the two measurements that were used in the building of the pyramids. It was the cubits, and over the king's chamber was the lost cubit measurement, the head. And once you, and I made a few here one time, and it blew me away. I went to the shed and I made one, and you can put them up. They can divert weather and stuff. And I put it up to the clouds this day, and was at the shed, and I seen a bit of movement. And after about 5-10 minutes, I sat it down and I went into the shed. And I came out 5 minutes later and I was absolutely blown away. I was looking at a blue sky and a big polo mint in the middle of the sky. Absolutely blew me away. And that's what Slim Spurling done, because he created a thing called a harmonizer. And it was the frequency, again, it was charged with the solfeggio frequencies. And it created an environment that it brought back the meadow. It could, it done exactly what it fulfilled that term, harmonizer. And I think in around Illinois was one of his biggest, where he had lived, and he had Irish descent, but he was a genius. And he had that whole place where he blocked off the ley line, the geopathic stress. He placed the harmonizer at the particular points. Once he had them blocked off, and the whole dynamics of that place had flourished. The people had flourished, business had flourished, mindset had increased. Look him up. He's a fascinating, Slim Spurling, you call him. The Mind of the Master is one of his books.
Spurry, is it?
Spurling, Urfing, Marie, yeah. Fascinating technology. And so you can put your food into the rings. You can sit in them and meditate. So you're actually like in a chamber, or you're in you're in a frequency of photonic light. Your food's getting amplified. And I made the coils. You have these coils that you make. And one end draws in negativity, and the other end is constantly giving out photonic light. So everyone is dealt with within the chamber. And I have used these tools. The ones that I had made were my uncle, he had tendinitis in his ear for 40 years. They'd taken teeth out, they'd taken nerves out. I took it out in 2 minutes. 2 minutes, it's gone. He doesn't need tablets, he doesn't need anything else. And it was simply by anti-clockwise with the negative side. And it's like a magnet for pain. It draws
It's
it
flow of
out.
energy. Yeah, flow and direction of energy. And all you need to know to be able to, navigate this world is how to move and flow energy. And there are many different tools and ways to do it.
Exactly, Molly.
Yeah, we've just
As above,
lost
so
that.
below.
Yeah.
But that was and he has another one as well of them. There's a big horseshoe one where it actually can get rid of entities, can get rid of real dark stuff. So the ordinary coil draws out, it's more of a physical pain, whereas the other one, the classes say a garden hose. The other one is like a power washer. And it's basically the coil was like in a horseshoe fashion and unbelievable. I took the ones I was getting healings done by these three ladies, and I set them tools that I had made aside. And the next time I brought them out was on my last occasion to these women, because that was my confirmation that these tools actually worked. Because it was the same way that he worked. That he had clairvoyance, he had his scientific tools, he had everything else. All I needed was the clairvoyant approach to verify this. And when I brought these two tools into the healing room, the two ladies turned into two children with excitement. It blew them away. And the purpose of me bringing the coil was it lifted something off my spleen, a trauma from early age, lifted it off the spleen. And I had to be sitting inside the ring for that to happen. But they could see it. They could see the stuff just getting drew out. It was, again.
That was a copper ring, was it? Sorry, Stephen.
Copper ring. It's like a copper coil. I just don't actually have one. I never thought it'd be on this topic. It's only come into my head.
I think I've seen one. Don't they look like they're like a circle shape with almost like a globe kind of shape with a thick bit around the middle?
Yeah. Like
am I right? Yeah, that's right. But yeah, I've seen one. I have seen one. Yeah.
Copper is a conduit for electromagnetic energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard Andrew talk about doing the copper, gold, silver, and crystal all together, layering them together as well? He said that was the tools of the Lemurians or something. He said, and you can do some mystical stuff. It's amazing. These objects and things. I mean, I know. Have you ever experienced or used alcohol, Stephen, as a shamanic practice? Not drinking alcohol, but brewing and putting magic into it. Because this is the process I use as well now, and Andrew talks about this quite a bit. And so alcohol itself is alive. So I replaced my orgonite with this as well, and a lot of my other tools that I was using, like physical tools like that. So you brew the alcohol and you put hour upon hour upon hour of prayer into it, and you can take it from a year if you want, or just from solstice to next solstice or whatever. You can and just put all the prayer, the revocations, everything into it, and that stuff is mystical. And I bottle that up, have it at a few sort of fires and whatnot, and then bury it in all the corners of the property. And then, of course, I put it near where the water comes into the house, in all the four corners of the rooms where we sleep, where my children sleep, all strategically placed around the property. And that actually stopped. That was a part of a process where I stopped some very, very serious ancestral haunting. And it absolutely, yeah. And Andrew actually said that the alcohol is inhibited by angelic beings or angelic consciousness, something like that. He said, yeah. So they're actually alive, living beings. It's amazing.
It actually tapped into that. That's the ancestral wine.
Yes. So you can bury some in the land and give it as a gift.
Yeah.
But there's so many ways, in so many ways that it's just beautiful. I love to do this stuff. I love it. I haven't really got the tools to turn my own metals and things like that, but it's something I would love to do, especially experiencing with different types of metals and see what the frequencies are like, as you can tune them and combine them, even with the timbers. Beautiful.
Exactly. That, and even I think what Andrew said as well, if you have a small room there or an outhouse and you were to put your wine that you pray into, it is a great place for you just to go and sit and recharge. It's like a real battery house.
It is. That the magic that comes from them really can't be explained. It can't be described. If you're one of these people that sees little flashes of light and things here and there and sees stuff, then you will definitely see. You can be sitting there. I like to sit in the bath and have these mystical experiences, and I put my beers. I've got two. I've got one that's rum and also packed full of cannabis as well, and one that is just like a beer that I did. Both have got loads of prayer and ceremony in them, and they sit at the end with a candle in the middle when I'm doing my meditations, and you can see it, you know, you can literally see the energy. It's almost like a sun, you know.
Oh,
Beautiful, all these different colors, and they're amazing. They're amazing. They're alive, and that's all of your prayer as well, you know.
Excellent, excellent, Murray. Very intuitive evening, folks.
Yes, it has been
Fantastic,
great.
fantastic. Great sharing, great guest. Thank you, Stephen, for coming on
Mm.
And
and turning
everybody,
us
it's a
all
pleasure.
on to these things.
It's glad to get the pressure over. It's the first time ever for me now, so it's.
And
Yeah,
well
I'm-
done. And I put it all down to your companion in your hand. He's done the work for you. Kept
so. I think
the fire going.
He put a nice calm energy, Stephen. Nice
Yeah.
calm energy.
Brilliant, yeah.
Yes, yes, very enjoyable, Stephen, and informative.
Really
So
nice.
unless there are any particular questions, we might call it a day. Is there any other burning questions? Because, you know, we can always have this lovely man back on.
We can, yes.
Well, we almost meet
Of
again, folks. You know,
toolmakers.
we have to meet again, just all of us, just on the, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, cool.
See what we
So-
discuss.
So the usual thing, we're gonna, you know, throw it onto the YouTube anyway. So also, Stephen, you're just gonna send me the details where we can all get a hold of you. If you haven't got connected yet with Stephen on Facebook, you can still do that. You are on Instagram too, I've seen.
Yeah, yeah.
And then obviously you can always, you know, get in touch directly, or if anyone wants to get in touch with anybody else, this is the hub to do that. So I just want to say thank you to everyone. Thank you to Stephen for coming on, taking the time. And thank you very much for this lovely dude. Let's see where we're going tonight.
And to all of the staffs as well. Thank you to all of the staffs that's shown up today.
Yes.
Absolutely,
For the
yes.
standing
Yeah.
nations.
Yeah.
Thank
Oh
you
yeah,
very
he's just saying, what about me? Yes.
Thank you to everybody's wonderful creations that they've brought forward this evening. It inspired me, you know, all conversations, David, Maddie, everybody, Marie, everybody out there, the seen and unseen. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Stephen.
you. And see you next week. Okay?
Yes,
Take
you have
care,
been a great
everyone.
guest.
Cheers.
Cheerio, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.